Lydia Litvyak was born on the 18th of August 1921 in Moscow. She would go on to become one of the most successful female fighter pilots in history and the highest scoring female fighter ace of the Second World War. Litvyak grew up during a turbulent period in Soviet history. Her father was arrested during the Great Purge and disappeared, labelled an enemy of the people. Like many families at the time, they never learned his fate. Despite these hardships, Lydia developed a strong interest in aviation at a young age. At 14, she joined a local flying club, and by 15 she had completed her first solo flight. She later graduated from the Kherson Military Flying School and became a flight instructor at the Karlin Air Club. By the time Germany invaded the Soviet Union in June 1941, she had already trained around 45 pilots. When the German invasion began, Litvyak immediately attempted to join a combat aviation unit. She was initially rejected due to insufficient recorded flight hours. Determined to serve, she exaggerated her flight experience by adding an extra 100 hours to her logbook. This allowed her to join the 586th Fighter Aviation Regiment, an all-female unit formed by the famous Soviet aviator Marina Raskova. The Soviet Union was unique among the major Allied powers in developing women in frontline combat aviation roles. Litvyak trained on the Yak-1 fighter aircraft. In the summer of 1942, she flew her first combat missions over Saratov, and in September 1942, she was transferred to the 437th Fighter Aviation Regiment, a previously all-male unit operating over Stalingrad. Initially, her new commanding officer was reluctant to allow a woman to fly combat missions in his regiment. However, the intensity of the fighting over Stalingrad left little room for hesitation. On the 13th of September 1942, during only her third combat sortie, Litvyak achieved her first victories. Flying a Yak-1, she attacked a formation of German Junkers Ju-88 bombers, escorted by Messerschmitt Bf-109 fighters. She shot down one Ju-88 and then destroyed a Bf-109. This made her one of the first female fighter pilots to shoot down an enemy aircraft in combat. One of the German pilots she shot down survived and was captured, and according to Soviet accounts, he initially refused to believe he'd been defeated by a woman until Litvyak described the details of their dogfight with complete accuracy. Over the following months, she was transferred between several regiments as units were reorganised and re-equipped. She eventually served with the 73rd Guards Fighter Aviation Regiment, and in February 1943, she was awarded the Order of the Red Star and promoted to junior lieutenant. By this stage of the war, Litvyak had established herself as a skilled and determined pilot. She was selected for the role of free hunter. This tactic allowed experienced pilots to operate in pairs, independently searching for enemy aircraft rather than strictly escorting bombers or flying defensive patrols. It was a role reserved for trusted and capable aviators. Throughout 1943, she continued to score victories, though the exact total remains debated by historians. Most modern estimates credit her with between 11 and 14 solo kills, along with several shared victories. This record made her one of only 2 women in history to achieve fighter ace status. But her career was not without setbacks. She was shot down multiple times and at least once sustained serious injuries to her legs. Despite this, she repeatedly returned to active duty. One of her most notable actions occurred on the 31st of May 1943 when she volunteered to destroy a German artillery observation balloon. These balloons were heavily defended by anti-aircraft fire and had already resisted several Soviet attempts to bring them down. Litvyak approached the target from behind enemy lines, flying a wide circle to attack from an unexpected direction. Her gunfire ignited the hydrogen-filled balloon, successfully eliminating the observation post. By June 1943, she had been appointed flight commander within her squadron. On the 1st of August 1943, during operations near Krasny Luch, on the Mius front, Litvyak flew 4 combat sorties in one day. On her final mission, she was escorting 2 ground attack aircraft when German fighters entered the engagement. Fellow pilots later reported seeing her Yak-1 trailing smoke and being pursued by several Messerschmitt Bf-109s. The aircraft disappeared into cloud, and she did not return to base. She was just 21 years old. Because no wreckage or body was immediately found, Soviet authorities suspected she may have been captured. Under the policies of Joseph Stalin, capture by the enemy was often regarded with suspicion, and as a result she was not awarded the title Hero of the Soviet Union at the time. For decades her fate remained uncertain. Her former mechanic spent 36 years searching for the crash site. In 1971, remains were discovered in the village of Dmitry Yakov. A special commission concluded that the remains were those of Litvyak and that she had been killed in action. On the 6th of May 1990, Soviet President Mikhail Gorbachev posthumously awarded Lydia Litvyak the title Hero of the Soviet Union and promoted her to the rank of senior lieutenant. Today, historians continue to debate the exact number of her victories and some details of her final mission. However, there's a broad agreement on her significance. In a relatively short combat career, she became the highest scoring female fighter pilot in history. Her service demonstrated that women could operate effectively in frontline fighter roles at a time when most air forces restricted them from combat. Lydia Litvyak remains one of the most notable figures in Soviet aviation history. Her career, though brief, secured her place as a pioneering combat aviator and an important symbol of the Soviet Union's mobilization of women during the Second World War.